Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the weekly crypto recap. We are live here. I'm currently in a country town called Donnybrook, which is in Australia's southwest. As you know, I am out of internet a lot of the time. I'm shooting a feature film, but now I'm currently at a cafe using Wi-Fi so that I can bring to you all of the latest news from this week. Sorry about the sunglasses, but it's just really bright here. So welcome, and we've got a lot of stuff to get through. I of course have the wonderful Chris Carabats from Smart Cash here. Welcome.
Hey, happy to be here.
So I don't think we haven't actually done a weekly recap show since the 10th anniversary of Bitcoin. What did you do to celebrate, Chris?
I have a 3-month-old, so I slept when I could.
That sounds like such a celebration. That sounds like you had a good time. We had a fun kind of informal panel birthday cake pub celebration in Perth, and it was a whole lot of fun. I met some awesome people there from the crypto community here in WA, so we had a really great time. If you guys had fun things, then let us know what you did to celebrate the day, because it is worth celebrating. It's an incredible feat. 10 years of Bitcoin is pretty remarkable.
It really is. I love being part of this thing. It's been around 10 years. It'll be around another 100, right?
Absolutely. So on that note, let me just start off. I want to mention that we actually also just passed the 10th anniversary of Hal Finn first running Bitcoin. So back in 2009 on January 10th, he posted the first ever tweet about Bitcoin. He said running Bitcoin, and he was, of course, the second person to ever receive Bitcoin. So, I mean, that's also really great to celebrate as well. We know that Hal Finn was intricately involved in the development of Bitcoin, and there's a lot of conversations back and forth between him and Satoshi. Some people say that he is Satoshi. I'm not sure whether that's true, because you do see a lot of different conversations. They seem to have very distinct visions for Bitcoin, but a remarkable person. And of course, he passed away a few years ago now, but just thought it's worthwhile mentioning this remarkable person who had such a tremendous involvement in the growth of Bitcoin, who first ever tweeted about it. So thank you, Hal Finney. So let's start off. I think probably the biggest news from this week was about the Ethereum Classic hack. We had a 51% attack, and a hacker stole 54,200 Ethereum Classic from the crypto exchange Gate.io. Let's chat about this, and apologies for the cars going past. I'll mute myself when you're the one talking, Chris. It may be a country town, but it's a bustling country town. So.
Well, that's what you get for sitting on the street, but I
That's
envy
what
your son right now.
Just like a street loiterer right here. I've even finished my chai at the cafe, so I feel kind of bad still being here, but maybe I'll grab another one in a second. So you want to talk us through what happened with this 51% attack?
Well, this was another 51% attack that we see going on, about 54,200 ETC from Gate.io, but I believe the total amount was much larger than that from multiple exchanges, though I'm not sure who the others are. It's a standard 51% attack. A lot of proof of work coins that don't have a lot of hash power have this risk, particularly if they share the same algo that bigger coins have. So it cost this guy maybe $10,000 to do this attack, and he netted somewhere between $200,000 and $1 million worth of Ethereum Classic, which is pretty impressive, all things considered.
I feel bad like using words like that. It's pretty impressive feat. Only $10,000. I mean, that's a remarkable rate of return right there. Like, I mean, this is a really shitty thing that people are doing. But you're right. Like, it is kind of remarkable how easy this thing seems to be. And as you said, any coins that share hash power, they have to also share the same hashing algorithm. They have to be really careful, because this is a real danger.
Yeah, and there's a few sites out there that document this. I think crypto51.app lists the pricing to attack a whole bunch of different coins and how much that hash power is available on NiceHash, because that's the most popular place to go rent or sell your hash power. And it does not cost a lot.
Is a website like that created to be a warning to people saying, hey guys, this is dangerous, this is all it takes? Or is it like, here are the step-by-step instructions. If you pay just $4.99 a month and rent from this place with a special discount rate, and you too can score $1 million of other people's stolen money. Yeah, no, this is it is interesting information though. So it was shocking to me when I first looked at that website and was like, wow, and first saw people tweeting about this, and it is remarkable how little it takes to do this. I mean, you've got to line a lot of things up in a row, right? But it's it is scary.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about that is, Gate.io will take the loss for the users, is what they say. Yeah. And that's interesting because Gate.io isn't a huge exchange as far as I know. And they just have $250,000 sitting around. Or they're just going to say, people won't withdraw Ethereum Classic anyway. So sure, we'll just turn this into fractional reserve banking now. Yeah. It's hard to say exactly what this does.
Yeah.
It's one of those things like.
Luckily, proof of keys has already passed.
Yes.
So it was also interesting. So we talked about the amount of coins that they confirmed that they lost, but then Coinbase was saying that because they're the ones who first reported the 51% attack to the press, they said that about $1 million was reported stolen, but not from Coinbase. So apparently Gate.io is the only exchange that has reported any losses, which is interesting.
Yeah, I haven't heard of any other exchanges reporting losses, and I'm surprised that people haven't tried to identify them by looking at the deposit addresses and watching how the coins moved, because you'd think somebody would be able to figure it out, but I'm just surprised it wasn't mentioned. Because Gate only had a quarter of it, or a fifth. Yeah. And it's a lot. That's a lot of Ethereum Classic that was floating around that is no longer, that just vanished out of these exchanges' pockets.
Yeah. So someone was mentioning that they're on bitbacker.io, they don't see the stream. So on my Power Chat page, you should have an embedded video there. So you should be able to see the YouTube chat and see the video there if you press play. Press play. The new button there, but God, it's hard to say. Press play. It shouldn't be that hard to say. In some late nights filming, apologies. But yeah, check that out. So as I always mention, I do embed everything in bitbacker.io because people love to send super chats, and I really, really appreciate that. But YouTube actually takes 30% of every super chat you send. So now I use Bitbacker, and you can send power chats using crypto. So it's just a lot better. So yeah, someone says they had an issue there. So just refresh. It should be working. I think it works on pretty much all browsers at the moment. But let me know if you have issues there. Let's keep going because there's a lot of stuff to get through. Another big thing in the news: Norway businessman's wife was kidnapped for a ransom. They asked for the ransom in Monero, and it was $10 million of Monero that they asked for, which is a huge percentage of the market cap. But apparently this is the wife of a Norwegian multimillionaire who's apparently one of the richest people in Norway. She's been missing since 31st of October. I mean, that's really scary stuff there. Really, really scary stuff.
Yeah, it's one of those things that terrifies me, having people kidnapped if I ever do get lucky and end up as a multi-billionaire like this guy. But it isn't surprising that they chose to use Monero because it is right now the most secure of the cryptocurrencies as far as private transactions go. Right. I'm honestly surprised that it didn't result in the Monero price going up, because $10 million of Monero is like a third of their daily volume, and that's more than a little.
Yeah. So what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that this is entirely expected, and I expect to see a lot of mainstream media bad-mouthing privacy coins in particular and cryptocurrency in general because of this criminal's actions.
Yeah, and that's the issue that we're going to come up time and time again. Like, politicians will use an incident like this to say that is why we should ban these things. You know, that is why this should be regulated. This is why we need a back door that allows us to track these transactions. I mean, obviously, technology is morality neutral, right? It can be used for bad or good. And you don't see them going around saying they want to ban cash. But I used to say that as a joke, right? I used to say, oh, well, you know, as if they're going to ban cash, which is the biggest money laundromat in the world, like US dollars, the biggest money laundry. But the way the rhetoric is going, I wouldn't be surprised if they start looking into that. And that really terrifies me. I mean, Australia is already going the same way. They have banned cash transactions for over $10,000. So anything that you purchase over $10,000, you can't purchase with cash. That's insane to me. I just find that really terrifying.
Well, I mean, India tried to do it, and they had a horrible time when they tried to ban cash, whenever that was, a few years ago. And, you know, people want to be able to give money to other people without the government getting in between them and that other person. I mean, that's just the whole point, and the government wants to be in between every transaction. Yeah. So that's why crypto.
Well, so yeah, it's definitely a power tool and a power move for them, just wanting to be able to control and track things. When it comes down to it, I mean, this is an abduction. Hopefully, police work will come in, and they will be able to find these people through forensics, or, you know, looking in the home and trying to figure out what happened. Because if they were asking in cash, again, it would be very difficult to track if they asked for a ransom in cash. Of course, you know, it would require physically being in a location to pick it up. So there are probably ways that they could catch people in all of this. But at the same time, I mean, I hope that, like, it's really terrifying for me, and having a lot of friends in this space who may be vulnerable to this sort of thing. I really hope that they get to the bottom of it. It's very sad to see.
Yeah, then that she's still missing, and it was back in October, and she was taken out of her own bathroom. I mean, it's just
absolutely terrifying. So yeah, all the best to them, for sure. And all right, let's keep talking. I mean, talking about Monero, another report that came out this week was that crypto mining malware has netted nearly 5% of all Monero, meaning that people who are maliciously mining Monero through your browser, like without you knowing, about 5% of all Monero has apparently been mined this way, which is fascinating.
Yeah, and that's the malware that they could have come up in pop-ups that you don't even know about, or banner ads, and suddenly your CPU is running 100% and you have no idea why. It's because that banner ad on that website you're sitting on is mining Monero, and nobody knew about it. And it got into several of the banner networks. So this was on a whole bunch of really popular sites off and on over the last year or so. And they got 5% of Monero, which is pretty impressive.
Again, like, we're like, very impressive, guys. 5%, that's quite a few, like maliciously mining Monero on people's computers. And also, I mean, I wonder, like, my internet, I always have like shocking experiences with the internet, and I'm like, have they been mining malware, mining Monero on my computer? Is that why everything just runs so slowly? So, I mean, I always tell people, anything that's touched the internet, you should just not trust. You should just presume that it's been compromised. So I should probably just presume that everything I do is compromised. I do kind of live my internet life that way, actually.
Yeah, security-wise, if you can do it, make sure your crypto is not on your daily driver system.
Absolutely.
Use good browsers like Brave, or at least ad blockers.
Absolutely,
Use VPNs whenever possible, and just keep your system monitored well, because, you know, I mean, there's malware out there that would do something simple as see when you copied a Bitcoin address to your clipboard and then paste a different Bitcoin address when you paste it.
Right.
I mean, you know, just simple things like that to try to get crypto.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you just take being your own bank seriously.
Absolutely. Yeah, I posted a video recently about that, about how, you know, there's so much pressure, there's so much responsibility on an individual when they become their own bank. There are lots of security concerns. I see people flippantly talking about, oh, well, I've got a really great hiding place in my home that has my private, like, oh, they say things like that. And it's like, okay, that's the opposite of taking security seriously, guys. First of all, just hiding the stuff in your home. Like, do you have security cameras in your home? Do you have, you know, bouncers at your door checking this stuff? Do you, like, you need good security if you're going to be holding your own finances.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you know, the target isn't going to be as big as, like, say, in a bank, right? There's a giant target on banks. They just store so much money, like places like Coinbase. So the individual, I mean, it's not worth it as much for criminals to go after individuals. But that being said, like, just be really careful out there, right?
Yeah, just take it seriously. You know, it's usually polite to not talk about money, so now it's also security conscious to not talk about money too.
Yeah, just be careful there. So speaking of Coinbase, actually, so let's talk about this. The Gab actually was banned from Coinbase back in June of this year,
Mm-hmm.
but then Coinbase now has banned Andrew Torba's personal account. He's the CEO of Gab, I believe.
Yes,
And
founder.
that is, I mean, that's a huge move there, like banning an individual user from using the Coinbase platform. What do we think about this?
You know, this, I try to defend Coinbase a lot because they are an important gateway into the crypto space, but this is them acting like a traditional payment gateway. I mean, this, you know, there was a lot of drama over, you know, Patreon banning people, and, you know, that's why we're on Bitbacker right now. That's why we believe in solutions like Bitbacker. And Coinbase is acting like the mainstream places, not like what we want the crypto space to be. And it's really unfortunate. And as you said, they banned the Gab corporate account back in June, and there wasn't a lot of hubbub about it then. I'm kind of
And you know what's
surprised.
interesting? Like, my immediate reaction when I heard about Coinbase, I was like, oh, you know, having talked a lot about how payment processors really hold the strings to a lot of these organizations. Like, for example, when Patreon kicked a bunch of people off, I was always like, oh, I think that the payment processors probably have a lot to do with this. PayPal probably has a lot to do with this. And then that was sort of confirmed for me when PayPal and Stripe pulled all services for the entire Subscribe Star platform. And I was like, okay, so it is the payment processors. But then looking at this account, so Coinbase kicked off Gab back in June, and PayPal actually didn't ban them until the end of October. So this is not coming from the payment processors. Like, I know you mentioned earlier, just before the show, Chris, you said that you pointed out how Coinbase has just integrated PayPal payment processing on their sites, like direct deposits, you know, things like that, payments through PayPal. And so I was like, okay, so that makes sense. You know, suddenly Coinbase is banning these people, and that's probably coming straight from PayPal. But no, PayPal did not even ban Gab until the end of October, which was after Coinbase had already banned them. So it doesn't seem like it is coming just from PayPal at all.
I agree. I have heard rumors about Visa and MasterCard pressuring Patreon in the past over certain people, like
well, for
Milo
sure,
and some others. And Coinbase is tight with them. But also, just keep in mind, I mean, as much as we like Coinbase, they are a Silicon Valley organization. And if you've listened to any of the talk about Patreon lately and about the people who've talked to the Patreon CEOs and whatnot, the way that they're just completely unaware of how people might find this scary or untowards just shows how much of a bubble it really is there.
Yeah, so yeah, of course. And people, I mean, I always play devil's advocate because you see so much anti-Coinbase rhetoric. And I agree with you that it's a very important onboarding platform for new users. But I also need to give myself a bit of a reality check. And as you said, remind myself that, yes, this is a giant financial institution. Yes, they are playing by all the government's rules. They are playing by, they are, you know, at the behest of the payment processors, at the behest of the banks that they use and all of that. So just be careful with your funds and be aware that when you're not holding your own keys, you don't have your own money, as the same old rhetoric that we always say.
And to get all tinfoil hatty, the banks and MasterCard and whatnot are big investors in the groups behind Coinbase. So there is institutional and traditional banking stuff involved deeply in Coinbase. So just, you have to be aware of that. And, you know, we all still have to deal with fiat sometimes. So don't don't tie yourself in and limit yourself to one fiat exchange. Make sure you have backups. Make sure to not keep any coins there any longer than you have to do the actual fiat exchange, and try not to do your life savings all at once.
Yeah. So another thing coming up in the news, we've got a hard fork in Ethereum. But back to Ethereum, we spoke at the start of the show about the 51% attack. And actually, our Lamas B, and I know how to pronounce your name now because you told me in a power chat just then. So appreciated. So he sent a power chat, and actually sent a couple yesterday during my live stream with biohacker Josiah. So thanks so much for sending that. I'll read out the one before. He said, very exciting subject. I wonder if Josiah can see any short-term project that bioengineering could leverage the blockchain technology. I think that's a great question. He did mention blockchain. God, it's so loud. Sorry, guys. He did mention blockchain in the show, but that's a great thing to follow up with him. I wouldn't be surprised if he's looking into different blockchain solutions for some of the things that he's doing. But Lamasby actually just sent me another power chat, says, what are other coins doing to protect against 51% attacks? Coins like SmartCash, Dash, etc. So there are lots of different solutions to 51% attacks that people are using. Like I know that Horizon has put in a penalty system for late block reporting. So that's an interesting thing that they're doing. I know that like Varus Coin, they have a a hybrid system of proof of work, proof of stake. So you have to have like 51% of the total supply as well as 51% of the hash power. And also they also notarize everything to the Komodo blockchain, which then notarizes to Bitcoin. So you would have to actually then have 51% of Komodo and 51% of Bitcoin as well. How does SmartCash solve this problem?
We have smart mining, which requires that pool operators sign the blocks with an approved key, so that keeps shadow mining from happening or unapproved mining pools from coming in. So we are protected from that because we were afraid of miners coming in. It just, it is one of those things that you have to care about because this is a problem for any coin now.
Yeah, it really is. And it's I mean, when you have large coins like Ether and Bitcoin, really it has to be like a 51% attack because they don't really have any inbuilt mechanisms for dealing with this stuff. Same with Ethereum Classic. That's why this sort of happened. And I wonder if this is going to be an impetus for them to make any changes to the protocol that helps them deal with this, because as we've just mentioned 3 different ways that people are dealing with this that are quite effective. I really enjoy seeing what the market has come up with in terms of solutions to this problem. But some of the larger coins, I mean, there's a lot more inertia there that keeps them from starting something new and starting something different. So I wonder whether they're going to have reasonable solutions to this problem.
It's going to be interesting to see. That has been a long-term criticism of some of the big coins. I mean, right now, it would take a big amount of money to 51% attack Bitcoin. But state actors theoretically could do it, particularly if state actors coordinated that with actually attacking the mining pools.
Yeah.
So, there are multiple ways to skin this particular cat, and pure hash power may not be the best way to secure networks in the long run when we're seeing people get more and more creative in their attacks.
For sure, and especially in an ecosystem where, I mean, the tech's evolving so fast across the sphere, different platforms coming up with all these new great solutions. Everything is moving just really, really fast. Obviously, hackers are moving fast too. They're constantly finding new ways to exploit the system. And you've just got to wonder about some of the coins that are like, no, we're not going to implement any changes, where we want to remain very, very pure. Obviously, Bitcoin SV is one that's like, let's roll everything back to an original version. And you have to realize the tech needs to be constantly evolving to keep up with this stuff as well. Otherwise, you lose all of the security benefits that it first gave us when it first came out.
Yeah, and that's why the Bitcoin maximalists, I don't agree with their perspective, because things do have to change. We are in technology land now. We are in a competitive environment, and it is incredibly unlikely that the very first thing ever made would be the perfect and best one that will last forever. That's just not exactly how tech works.
Yeah, we're going to have to see what happens there. Obviously, I hope that it does last.
Yep.
But yeah, it is just scary seeing how many different types of attacks are possible now. But let's talk about this Ethereum hard fork for January.
Okay.
There are 3 upcoming hard forks. And there are forks across all different types. Like you've got Ethereum Classic has got forks. Like, can you walk me through the details of these?
Well, there's 3 overall forks right now. So there's
Yeah.
Ethereum Classic will be hard forking. So there's a new Ethereum Classic Vision that's coming out that has some specifics about it, but whatever. Nobody really cares, particularly now after the 51% attack.
I can always
There,
like, I have a question about that. Like,
yeah.
has anyone really cared about Ethereum Classic for a while? Because I have some friends who are like, they invested heavily in Ethereum Classic after the rollback because they were saying, well, it's basically the same as Ethereum. So of course it's going to increase in value, but it's just not the same when you have all of the developers actively developing on the Ethereum blockchain, not on the Ethereum Classic. You've got basically a dead chain there. So like, how much innovation and work have we seen on the Ethereum Classic blockchain?
I'm not the best person to answer that, but there are people involved heavily in Ethereum Classic. I mean, there was a big news just the other day when ETC Dev went out of business because they were working on Ethereum Classic heavily.
Yeah.
And there were some big names that were pushing Ethereum Classic and probably still are. But at the same time, you're absolutely right. As far as the general public sees, unless something goes horribly wrong with Ethereum itself, it's very unlikely that people are going to go and use Ethereum Classic over Ethereum when the only real difference is the DAO hack and the reversal that took place there. So keeping in mind, I don't.
Sorry.
No, okay. We don't need to go into the details there, but you're right.
So what are some details about these hard forks that we need to be aware of?
Okay, then there's an Ethereum itself has a fork coming off of it, the Noah fork, which again is just a new coin. So you'll have Noah when that happens on the 12th, so just a couple days from now. I guess now, as far as you in Australia are concerned. And then the big one that everybody actually cares about is the Constantinople hard fork on Ethereum that makes several changes. So you can read all the technical detail about there, but it decreases the miner rewards. And this is a big movement towards their Casper update that should be coming that does the proof of stake transition.
Yeah. All right.
So, yeah.
I'm just going to post a link in the chat here in case people want to read up about there. There's some good information.
Yeah.
People to know.
I don't think it's good use of our time for me to read the article. People should probably read it and research themselves.
Yeah, very jargony, very tech heavy. So probably something better for someone to look through.
But that, keeping that in mind, that should, I believe, come this week, depending on when block 7,080,000 happens. And so keep an eye on that if you're planning on moving large amounts of Ethereum, because you don't know how the exchanges are going to deal with this and when that'll actually be upgraded and accessible at any given moment. Yeah. So just keep an eye on it.
So I actually just got a power chat from Derek Belcher. Thank you so much. I sent through some BTC, and he's asked me an interesting question here. Naomi, I know that you're working on a movie at the moment, but would you or anyone you know be interested in turning my book about my topless car wash into a movie? Whatever it is that you are envisioning, my life was much wilder than that. Okay, all right, I'm sure. He says, this is not a joke. Just Google my name and topless car wash. All right, if anyone wants to Google Derek Belcher and topless car wash, seems like it's a pretty interesting story there. I probably don't have time at the moment, Derek. It sounds fascinating, though. So if you do go and pursue this, keep us posted here, because I'm sure there are some people in the chat who'd be interested in watching a movie like that. I can almost guarantee that. But far as I'm concerned, yeah, I'm here shooting a feature film, also working on Hard Fork series, which is getting really exciting. We're doing I can't talk about it too much, but really exciting. So probably a bit busy at the moment, but I appreciate the power chat and I appreciate you asking. Let's move on, because there was some interesting news. It was actually last week, but I wanted to bring it up because it's kind of hilarious and fun. Neo is to develop the world's first blockchain-based girlfriend. All right. So this is going to be interesting. So basically, they have said that they're creating a mobile dating simulation game that purportedly combines virtual reality, non-fungible blockchain assets, and artificial intelligence. Like, they're all the big buzzwords, right? They just put those buzzwords together and just like, oh, let's blockchain girlfriend. It's kind of genius, right?
Yes, my girlfriend is a non-fungible token. I mean, that sounds like, I don't know, a book that some people would write, or whatever, just weirdness. But I did like how the article ended, that, less poetic, but perhaps more succinct. This is creepy AF.
Well, I mean, this is definitely the future, though. You think about all of the artificial girlfriends out there. You think about the people who like fall in love with holograms these days, and cartoon characters, anime characters. This obviously seems like the next step, and they've just taken blockchain and thrown that into the mix as well. Like, what aspect of this do they want on the blockchain? Why does an individual, which I presume is like a centralized being, need to be decentralized across a very cumbersome ledger network?
Well, she can be with you wherever you are on the blockchain. I mean, you don't have to have, all you have to have is your private key to access your non-fungible girlfriend.
And you can keep her locked away so no one else can go near her. That's kind of creepy.
Yeah, and you can, with the non-fungible tokens, you can make sure that no other girlfriend is your girlfriend.
That's true.
She is unique.
Someone just said blockchain girlfriend is Seifu.
Yes.
Behind my private key. So it says here the objective of the game is open-ended and is said to simulate the complete life-death cycle, oh my God, of an individual's personal relationship. Wait a second. So I don't quite understand this. I thought the whole point of these artificial girlfriends and artificial relationships was that you could have all of the good without the bad. But they're saying that they want to simulate the entire life-death cycle of an individual's personal relationships. So you're going to go through heartbreak over breaking up with a simulation? Is that what they're saying?
So what's the over-under on somebody killing themselves after their blockchain girlfriend leaves them?
Oh my God, that's so sad. That makes me really sad. So it says here that users are encouraged to form a friendly and even romantic experience with the Luna character, including, bizarrely, taking care of Luna's wardrobe, because that's what you want in a girlfriend. You want to be able to control what they wear. With the game's ecosystem maintained through buying and selling of limited edition clothing, which will be rendered as scarce non-fungible token assets. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm kind of intrigued. When this comes out, I may try it out and give like a reaction video of how I find this. I may get myself I wonder if they have like a boyfriend equivalent, or is this just a girlfriend service? Because that will be interesting too.
Well, in Asian countries right now, particularly in China, there is overabundance of men related to women for various socioeconomic reasons. So yeah, I imagine that men have a harder time finding a girlfriend than women finding a boyfriend in these situations. So, one type of demographic is their target, I imagine.
Wow. Oh boy. So, I mean, this is very interesting. I'm going to keep an eye on this. I will keep you all posted about this blockchain girlfriend and let you know how the experience with my new blockchain girlfriend is going. Is this been released yet? I mean, they're saying that they're promising that this is something that is going to be happening in the future, but it seems like it hasn't quite been, it's like not there yet, right?
Yeah, it's an alpha version of the game. Was awarded 500,000 yen.
Huh.
And
I want to be like a beta tester. I wonder if anyone has connections to Neo or this game company. Let me know. See if you can put me in touch, because I want to try this out. I'm kind of intrigued and a little disgusted, a little apprehensive, a little terrified, but overwhelmingly intrigued.
So go to neo.girl to check it out. Hopefully I don't regret not doing that in incognito window. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
I do know that
because your blockchain wife will get very jealous.
God, oh dear. But I'm sorry. I have to leave this with the image on the article that we're looking at is the screenshot of neo.girl, and the catch is grasp her every moment.
Watch her at all times. Like, reminds me of that song, like, I'll be watching you. Like the really creepy stalker song from the 90s, like every step you take. Like, I feel like this is the blockchain like virtual girl equivalent of that song. Like, grasp her every moment, track her every wardrobe transaction. Like, what? Like, I just, all right.
Well, there is a download button on their site, so have fun with that.
I'm gonna check that out. I got a power chat from Lamas B, who says and sent some smart cash. Thank you so much. Smart cash has been really popular on Bitbacker, by the way. It's been really awesome. He says, would it be easier to just add crypto payments to a game like Sims? I mean, honestly, I think that the future of a lot of video games are all gonna head in that direction.
Well, it's more than just payments, though. It's the non-fungible assets part of it. I'm sorry. Everything I say in relation to this is a double entendre. I don't know why, but but seriously, I mean, if you can say your blockchain girlfriend has the cryptographically guaranteed only version of this outfit that she's wearing, you know, there's value to that, maybe.
And what can
Well,
like? Can she fake orgasm? Like, is there like POO, proof of orgasm? Like, I just want like all of the natural consequent like things, places my mind goes to with this. It's just like, oh my god. Okay, we're gonna have to follow this up. Maybe I'll be the tester rather than you, because honestly, I would find it really weird if you started using this. But me, on the other hand.
Yeah, I am not downloading this. Just so you know, this is you can go ahead and alpha test this for them.
All right,
all you.
I'm gonna try that out. Let's move on. Still got a bunch of stuff to get through. So Bitmain's two founders step aside as Chinese cryptocurrency giant taps software coder as the new CEO. So we have been talking in the news the last few weeks about Bitmain. Sorry, Blue Oyster just into the chat and is like, what are we talking about? Like, proof of orgasm, Blue Oyster. Don't worry. Everything's fine. Things like fire going on behind us. This is fine.
Yeah.
So yeah, now we moved on to Bitmain though. So we reported recently they fired like 50% of their workforce. There's a huge downturn market. Mining is not as lucrative as it was. Bitcoin Cash has just gone through this very expensive, battle between two different chains. So, it is not surprising actually that Jihan is stepping down after all of that. Personally, I'm a big fan of Jihan Wu actually. So I am sad to see him go. But it is. Yeah, it's not surprising. You have something like that, I would presume that the board would be, clamoring for something like this to happen.
Well, they did recently lay off 1,500 employees, or about half of their staff. So that is more than a little bit. And that in of itself, for a traditional organization, could result in a CEO stepping down.
Yeah.
So that's, this isn't necessarily related to any of the rest of it, though all the BSV fanboys are like, oh, he went against Satoshi, so this is what he gets.
Yeah. And then, I mean, and it's also up in the air to know, I mean, Jihan, did he step down? Was he forced out? I don't think it's actually been publicly announced either way.
No, and there's a lot of things. China doesn't. Chinese organizations don't talk about that the same way that an American organization was. If for no other reason than a lot of times it's the government telling the corporations to reorganize, and they don't want the corporations to publicize that, so they just don't say anything. Yeah, but
they made no comment. So Bitmain has actually declined to comment on the leadership change. So we really don't have too much information here.
No, but he's still on the board, as far as I know. He's just not the CEO. But that being said, there are a bunch of organizations laying off staff right now. I mean, even Shapeshift just a couple days ago announced that they're laying off 33% of their workforce. Yeah. And Kraken laid off 57 of them late last year.
Yeah.
Spank Chain lost 60% of their workforce, to go back to the previous topic. So this is not happening in isolation. This is, just, I'm seeing this as we're finally getting to capitulation, which is where we need to be as a space.
Yeah. Someone mentioned actually that Jihan unfriended Roger on Twitter. I didn't know that. That's interesting news.
I don't even, fine. It could happen.
You're like, I am not interested in this at all. So someone just sent me an anonymous power chat. Thank you so much. Sent some smart cash and said, you should catch the next few people walking by and ask them if they know anything about blockchain or Bitcoin. Will be interesting. That's a great idea. I feel like it's been interesting on this film shoot actually, because you guys know me, I'm just constantly talking about this stuff. And I'm trying to like test the waters about how much I can get away with talking about this on set. So I've kind of explained what Bitcoin is, why it's important, and people have been very generous in listening to me ad nauseum. I talk about this, but I had to go back to Perth yesterday and then drove back here to Donnybrook. So it's a 2.5 hour car trip. And I was like, oh, I have a captive audience. They can't get away. So I sort of tentatively brought up. I'm like, so you guys all said you were very interested in this. Shall I go into more detail? And all of them were like, I am very interested. Maybe not right now. So I'm always a little bit hesitant to be like launching into like an ambush of like, I'm going to tell you the things, but I am working on it, guys. And I really appreciate the response I got to my actors video with people saying like, oh, let me know if they set up an account, we'll send them tips. Like that sort of stuff really encourages people to look into this stuff. That's how people got into Bitcoin in the first place. I remember when I was sent my first Bitcoin, that it was like point whatever of a Bitcoin at the time. Just someone saying, here, I'll just send some to your wallet. It's nice to have that.
Yeah.
And it really does make a difference. So I'm sure they really appreciated that. So I am going to help them set up accounts, just so you know.
Excellent.
And I might grab people. I might interrupt us if there are some interesting people coming and just see if I can grab them.
You look interesting. Have you heard about the Lord and Savior cryptocurrency?
The good thing is the camera is this way, so you'll be able to see them just like running, bolting. I go.
That reminds me, just briefly, a friend of mine was asking a website if they thought about accepting cryptocurrency, like in an email.
Hi, you two gentlemen look like you would be willing to chat with me for 2 seconds. I'm on a video talking about Bitcoin.
No, we know nothing about it.
You know nothing about it. Fair enough, too. It's pretty complicated.
Couple of those votes when they come through.
Oh, I'm going to ambush them.
Yeah,
Thank you.
No.
All right, I gave it a shot, guys. I'll try the next one, but my hopes are not high. Let's keep going in the news here. So, they're looking at Wang Haichao, who's the current product engineer director, to assume CEO duties in December. So that's interesting. Before joining Bitmain, he worked as a software programmer and product manager at Availink, which is a Beijing-based semiconductor design house. So that's interesting. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see who they end up with, and if he's somebody actually known to the wider cryptocurrency space, or if he's just a businessman. Yeah. That's local in China. I mean, it'll be very interesting to see where they go with this. That'll help tell us about what they're doing as a corporation. Yeah, for sure. Let's look. So news with Kraken. They have reported that they received 3 times more law enforcement requests in 2018. So that, I mean, that's to be expected, and it really is a reflection of what I've been saying a lot, how 2018 really was the year of regulation in cryptocurrency. And we just saw, I mean, the markets, like, I just saw just a lot of things going cold in the market, people not wanting to move their crypto around because they're unsure of the regulatory framework, lots of businesses getting lots of requests. Basically, I mean, they said that it revealed they had received 3 times more law enforcement requests, and I wonder what kind of requests they are. Probably like identities of people, divulging information, all that sort of stuff. But they released an infographic which is pretty interesting, and it shows the increase in requests that they've received, and I mean, it's concerning.
for me. Just seeing so much more law enforcement involvement in the cryptocurrency scene is a little terrifying.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, the biggest requester was Homeland Security Investigations, which I guess is a subset of Homeland Securities. And then FBI was number 2. So it's just an interesting area for requesting this.
Yeah.
And it'll just be very interesting to see where this goes, because especially for United States corporations, this is just going to get worse if cryptocurrency continues catching on, which of course I fully expect it will.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. So we've got
it's nice to have Kraken publicize this stuff, and
it
hopefully
is
they can continue
actually,
to do
and
so.
they've always been like I'm a big fan of Kraken. I'm a big fan of
Mhm.
Jesse Powell. So apparently they received 475 law enforcement requests in 2018, 3 times that of 2017. Overwhelmingly, it's come from the US. The Department of Homeland Security's investigations led
Mhm.
the way, and then second was from Drug Enforcement Administration.
FBI was
second was the FBI, and then
Yeah.
Drug Enforcement
Mhm.
Administration. And so, yeah, that is interesting to see which departments are looking into this.
Yeah, and I don't know what Homeland Security would be. Maybe this was tied to their, investigation of those Iranian fellows or what. And it'll be interesting to see how this progresses, because it'll only get worse.
Yeah, yeah. So it says here that back in April, Kraken CEO and co-founder Jesse Powell said that having the kind of information requested on hand is not the same as having the resources to compile it neatly to fit into the framework of the request.
Mhm.
I mean, the hoops that law enforcement has been asking these exchanges to jump through seems really crazy. They're giving them very limited time to put this stuff together. They're saying that, these exchanges aren't complying if it takes them long to do this stuff. Like, they expect that your business can just halt so that they can have an entire department just focus on this request. That's just not the way businesses operate. They generally don't have excess personnel on staff to handle your huge requests that come on hand. So it's an interesting situation.
Yeah, and that comment he made there was in response to New York's request for information from all the exchanges. So that's just basically him saying, we have other priorities than voluntarily giving a whole bunch of hard to gather and hard to assimilate information to the regulators, particularly for regulators for other states that don't have any say over them.
Yeah.
But as he said later, this is the cost of doing crypto business in the USA.
Absolutely. And I mean, people have remarked on this as well. Like, when you have all of these different departments who are all looking, for a piece of the pie, who all have their different laws, who all have, different aspects of compliance that people have to go through. These are all costs that are passed on to the consumer. And I know that we bitch a little bit about the costs of exchanges and doing business and all of this stuff. But really, I mean, you think about how lean these companies used to be before there was so much regulation, but with all of the increased departments and regulation and requests that are coming into play in recent years, it's absolutely no wonder that costs are going up all across the industry.
Yeah, and one of the things that the crypto people like to respond to when there's criticism about proof of work and how much energy it takes is talking about all the overhead that banks have and how that's really even more overhead than you see from the crypto space. But as the crypto space has to adhere to more of these regulations, there will be that overhead, there will be that waste of adhering to regulations and to all these different departments in the United States that are trying to gain their toehold into crypto regulation and their little piece of that pie.
Yeah, for sure. So let's keep going here. There's something that I wanted to mention from last week. So Overstock, they've always been a trailblazer in the crypto space. They were the first major retailer to accept Bitcoin. It led to a spike in the price. I mean, we don't really know what led to what, but it did correlate with one of those. And Patrick Byrne has been a really staunch advocate of free and decentralized money. Now that, due to the change in Ohio, where you can now pay your taxes in Bitcoin, they have actually announced that they will be using digital money to pay their taxes. That's really interesting.
You know, I like the option that cryptocurrency can be used to pay taxes. I don't like taxes. Taxation is theft. You know,
It's
yada
funny, yeah.
yada yada.
I just posted a video talking about that, and I got a lot of people being like, "Taxation is theft. Why are you even talking about it?" But it's,
But
actually, excuse me, I'm on a live stream video right now. Can I ask if you know anything about Bitcoin?
Not a thing.
Not a thing. Are you interested in learning, or is it something that you're like, don't care about this thing at all?
I think the horse is bolted. Yeah.
You think the horse is bolted?
Yeah.
That's such an Australianism. But most of my audience is in America, so they're going to be like, "What horse is bolted? What is he talking about?" So you think that Bitcoin's dead, or
No, I just saw ones that made money have already made it.
so you think that there's not much to do there anymore?
Definitely not going to go all the way. That's for sure.
Interesting, interesting. I appreciate your perspective. Like, does it interest you at all? Like, you're not interested in learning about it, or like, yeah, I guess you probably wouldn't find much use for it. Maybe is that the reason? Pardon?
I got a tip for you in the last Pinjara.
All right. All right. Thanks so much, guys.
that man has quite the wave shirt.
Absolutely. Yeah. You just I met some hi. You just met some real Australian blokes there. Love it so much. All right, so let's we were talking about Ohio, and I totally cut you off so that I could like nab them.
Oh no, that's fine. I love it. That's what's great about this. But at any rate, a lot of people say, "Oh, I don't want to give the government my crypto," and I can certainly sympathize and understand that arrangement. You know, that being said, you know, I'm going to have to sell some crypto to pay taxes, and it'd be really nice if there was a few fewer steps in that process that I could take.
Absolutely.
So,
oh yeah, that I was just mentioning that the video I just posted, which was about like potential like non-fungibility of Bitcoin and how there could be, you know, tax advantages to that. And then a lot of people kind of hating on me, saying like, "Why are you posting about taxes? They're the worst. They shouldn't exist." Well, and it's like, I agree with you. We're all on the same page here, buddy. But the problem is when you have the government that has the monopoly on force, you know, not everyone can be a hero. Like, I'm not going to go out there and advocate that everyone just not pay their taxes. That would mean you would spend the rest of your life in jail, as the Peter Schiff's father did. You know, he was a true hero, but he also, you know, spent his life in jail. He died in jail, and that's awful and terrible. And that's a choice that an individual, like, I mean, if they don't make that choice, I do not begrudge them. I do not begrudge anyone who decides to pay taxes, because that is the law. You know, I don't think they should exist, but at the same time, if they do exist, and if you don't want to spend your time in jail, maybe you should be looking for some advantages that could help you if you're forced to comply with this system.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that I always like bringing up is one of the reasons that economists like Paul Krugman give that the U.S. dollar and other fiat currency has value is that there will always be demand for it to pay taxes. Now, if you listen to Austrian economics, they say that it doesn't matter what his value is; you can always pay taxes with it at the time. But that is one of the excuses he uses, and so it's nice that.
Now we have a counter argument.
Now we have a counter to that. Like, fine, we can pay taxes in Bitcoin.
Bitcoin will always be valuable because we can pay our taxes.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a stupid argument.
It's a stupid argument, but if they're going to use it, why not use it right back there?
It's nice to have an easy answer.
Absolutely. So another thing just to mention, BitTorrent is launching its own cryptocurrency on the Tron network. This happened last week, but worth bringing up. And you found a funny quote about that. You want to read the quote? Because I don't want to read the quote. Chris?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I mean, the start of it just talks about what it is. So BitTorrent, the cypherpunk darling that survived regulatory bludgeoning that wiped out Kazaa, eDonkey, and other P2P file sharing protocols in the late 1990s, ultimately met a fate far worse than death, being acquired by Tron.
Oh, zing. Wow. That's all right. There we go. We just said it. So BitTorrent, yeah, as you said, there's sort of like this this remnant of this world. It's something that's stuck around when a lot of these similar platforms have since closed down. They really were the pioneer of peer-to-peer technology. For file sharing on the internet. It is kind of cool that they're creating their own cryptocurrency, though. But yeah.
they're creating a token on top of the Tron network.
Exactly.
I wouldn't call that their own cryptocurrency.
Yeah. I mean, what do you think the use
Tokens are
case is going to
easy.
be? Like, what are they hoping to do here?
I should have read more about it, but it's Tron, and I am allergic to reading stuff about Tron.
I'm allergic to the sun. So, I mean, it's interesting because, I mean, they're talking about earning money when you share files online. So I guess a way of incentivizing people if they share files could be the reason.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's nice, but there are other tools to do that already.
Yeah.
And, BitTorrent meets a very useful niche in our marketplace. It served the purpose of decentralization and censorship resistance in the pre-blockchain web, and I think it'll still be useful in the future going forward. You don't need to put that sort of money on everything, at least right now. I mean, maybe eventually when the internet is run by one of those projects that wants to decentralize all parts of the internet, that you will need to incentivize and tokenize and monetize your file sharing habits. But right now,
Yeah, I agree. I just got through another power chat. Anonymous says, great effort on interviewing strangers. I appreciate that. It's been pretty fun. It's like, it's funny. If I were here just by myself with no live stream, I'd probably be like, oh, I can't talk to strangers. No, like how do I suppose, but I feel like I have all these people, like you're all my moral support here being like, all right, guys, we're just going to ambush people in the street. So it's been pretty fun for me too. I appreciate the request. All right, so we've run out of time here. So let me just finish up reading a couple of headlines for you, which is interesting. So Texas financial watchdog may recognize stable coins. This is interesting because in Texas, I believe that they let me just see where I find that. So currently, using cryptocurrency is not considered money transmitting in Texas, is my understanding. Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's kind of the...
It says the position of cryptocurrencies in Texas generally, the document specifies that cryptocurrency is not money under the Money Services Act. Thus, receiving it on the same conditions as stablecoins is not considered as money transmission. So that's interesting, that you could be a transmitter of cryptocurrency, not be considered a money transmitter by under Texas law.
Well, that's most of the United States law, except for how the IRS tries to treat you. Though, to be fair, the IRS is treated as a commodity because you do have to, if you get paid in Bitcoin, you have to deal with capital gains or capital losses, just like if you get paid in a horse or something silly like that.
Right.
So that's how it works nationwide. It being treated as money, the stable coins at least, that has positives and negatives from my perspective. It may make it easy for some companies to deal with it, but it may make it harder for others who now will have the overhead of actually dealing with real money as opposed to a commodity. So
it's really frustrating the different departments consider this to be consider it differently and treat it differently, because it just increases the regulatory compliance across the board. You have to consider so many different things. And I mean, there's so many different ways you could potentially be breaking the law under the current system. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, what did they say? We all commit 3 felonies a day. At
least, yeah, it's insane. All right, so finally, just as we're clocking off here, on the anniversary of the Genesis block, so Bitcoin SV mined a world record 103 megabyte block. So this was to commemorate the I don't know whether, I guess it was like an intentional commemoration to mark the Bitcoin Genesis block, the 10-year anniversary. But then, Chris, you were telling me that there was like a temporary chain split because the network couldn't handle it. Like, what happened there?
This is entirely expected when a big block and lots of transactions. They had something like 400,000 transactions in that block, which is a very large number. It was all dust. This was all intentional. They were probably all broadcast by the system that was actually on the mining pool, so we didn't have to worry about propagation. But because of that, likely the other pools hadn't seen those transactions. They were busy processing things. So they ended up finding blocks without the transactions that the one pool did. Block, I can't remember which pool it was at this point. So it's entirely expected that they would be finding non-matching blocks while trying to catch up with everything going on here. And this just shows that, sure, you can do 103 meg block. Good for you if you have everything just right and ideal, but it's still, the network itself is not capable of actually handling all that. So if you had repeated blocks of that size, the network would hopelessly fragment and you never have any clue of when your transaction would actually make it out anywhere.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's something that we're going to keep kind of looking at as Bitcoin SV develops. Neither of us are the biggest fan of this, but it is something that's going on, and it is interesting just to see them like do stress tests and kind of test this technology in the direction they're going. So definitely interesting to keep an eye on. We have run out of time here. I just wanted to thank everyone who used the Power Chat today. I really, really appreciated that. And I actually found it really fun just interviewing people in the street. So thanks for being the impetus there. Huge thank you, Lam Asbi, for setting your Power Chats. Derek Belcher, we'll have to follow. I'm gonna Google you about that topless car wash that I see what happens there. And to Anonymous, I'm not quite sure who you are, but huge thank you for sending your Power Chats as well. And thank you to everyone who's been in the chat here chatting. You guys are so awesome, and it's pretty late in the East Coast, so if you're tuning in from there, I really appreciate that. And also, huge thank you to you, Chris, because it is currently 11 o'clock at night where you are. You are being incredibly flexible with my crazy filming schedule and Australian schedule. I'm still here for another few weeks before I head to Cancun for the Satoshi Roundtable. Then I'll be in Mexico. The time zones will be a little bit more aligned there. But I really appreciate you coming on the show and being awesome as always. Such a wealth of knowledge.
I'm very happy to be here, and my kid is crying in the other room, so I will migrate to father duties right after this.
There's no rest for the wicked, Chris.
No rest whatsoever.
We got someone tuning in from Athens. I didn't know that Bog was tuning in from Athens. It's good.
Very cool.
Good to have you guys all here. So go if it's Saturday where you are, go and enjoy your Saturday morning or the rest of your day. It's actually Saturday afternoon here, Saturday afternoon. Or if you're tuning in on the other side of the world, then go and enjoy the rest of your Friday night and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much, everyone.
For your non-crypto news, watch the potential French bank run on Saturday that the green shirts are going for. So that could be very entertaining. Maybe we can
cover that.
Yeah, I don't know when it really is going to happen or how much it's going to happen, but it's definitely worth watching what the yellow vests can do here, because a bank run is always fun. I mean,
a bank run is always fun. Yeah, no, that will be interesting. Let's do a follow-up video in a couple of days, just talking about the aftermath, if there is one of that.
Yeah, I hope there'll be something to talk about. I'm excited to see it.
Absolutely. All right, thank you so much, everyone. Thanks, Chris. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Sayonara.
Bye.